What if I told you that some of the biggest hotels on the Las Vegas Strip just cut hundreds of workers without warning? MGM, Resorts World, Fontainebleau, Treasure Island, the Venetian. One by one, the dominoes are falling. Concierge desks shuttered, dealers escorted out, housekeeping shifts erased overnight. Vegas has now logged 6 straight months of declining visitors, and occupancy is down 17%. Executives aren't calling this a slump, they're calling it the new normal. By the end, you'll know why these layoffs aren't random and why what's happening in Vegas should worry everyone. Number 10. Seasonal staffing cuts hit earlier every year. Las Vegas has always had slow seasons. Summer scorches tourists away. January brings the post-holiday lull. Hotels used to plan for it, trimming hours here and there when demand dipped. But something has changed. Those seasonal cuts aren't waiting for the calendar anymore. They're arriving earlier, hitting harder, and catching workers completely off guard. In the past, staff could count on steady shifts through spring. Now layoffs are rolling out in March. Resorts World cut nearly 50 employees before Easter even arrived. Fontainebleau followed weeks later. Workers who expected to coast into summer found themselves cleaning out lockers instead. And here's what makes it worse. These aren't temporary furloughs. Workers aren't being told to wait it out. They're being told goodbye. That distinction matters, because when a company furloughs you, they expect you back. When they lay you off, they've already moved on. But if seasonal timing is catching workers by surprise, wait until you hear how badly the executives themselves are missing the mark. Number 9. Tourism projections keep missing the mark. Every year, Las Vegas hotel executives sit in boardrooms making predictions. How many visitors will arrive? How many rooms will fill? How much revenue will flow? And every year lately, those projections have been dangerously optimistic. The numbers tell the story. Las Vegas welcomed 12% fewer visitors in July compared to last year. That wasn't a tiny miss. That was nearly 400,000 people who simply didn't show up. 6 straight months of year-over-year declines. And yet, staffing levels at the start of the year were built on rosy forecasts that assumed the boom times would continue. When reality hit, so did the layoffs. One casino executive admitted it plainly. Volume is down, and visitors have less wallet share. Translation? Fewer people are coming, and the ones who do aren't spending like they used to. That's a double blow hotels didn't see coming. What makes this painful is that the warning signs were visible. International arrivals had been slipping for months. Canadian visitors alone dropped by 40% on some airlines. But instead of adjusting early, hotels held on until the shortfall became undeniable. And when projections finally collide with reality, it's never the executives who pay the price. But speaking of prices, the next factor might be the most frustrating of all. Number 8. Room rates spike, but occupancy doesn't. Here's a math problem that doesn't add up. Las Vegas hotels have raised room rates by more than 30% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Strip properties now average over $200 a night, yet occupancy has fallen off a cliff. In early July, it dropped to just 66%, down nearly 17% from the year before. Fewer guests, higher prices. How does that make sense? It doesn't. At least not for workers. Because when rooms sit empty, hotels don't keep full staffing levels. They cut. Housekeepers lose shifts when there are fewer rooms to clean. Front desk agents get sent home early when check-ins slow to a trickle. Valets stand around with nothing to park. The strategy from ownership is clear. Charge more per guest and accept fewer of them. Executives have openly said they chose to maximize average daily rates instead of chasing volume. For the corporate balance sheet, it works. For the employees depending on a busy floor, it's a disaster. Revenue per available room crashed nearly 29% during one July week alone. That kind of drop ripples everywhere. Restaurants inside hotels see fewer diners. Bars pour fewer drinks. Retail shops watch foot traffic evaporate. The cruel irony? Hotels could fill more rooms by lowering prices. More guests would mean more jobs. But that's not the priority anymore. And if you think pricing pressure is the only squeeze, wait until you see what's happening behind the scenes with operating costs. Number 7. Operating costs outpaced visitor growth. Running a Las Vegas mega resort has never been cheap, but in the past few years, the expenses have exploded. Electricity bills in a city where air conditioning runs non-stop for 5 months, through the roof. Insurance premiums after years of climate disasters nationwide, skyrocketing. Maintenance on aging properties, endless. And wages. The culinary union fought hard for better pay, and workers earned it. But those raises added pressure to already strained budgets. When revenue doesn't keep pace with expenses, something has to give. Usually, it's headcount. This is the squeeze hotel workers are caught in. Costs climb on one side, visitor spending softens on the other, and management, facing thinner margins, reaches for the easiest lever: labor cuts. The math is brutal. Gaming revenue on the Strip declined in 6 of the last 7 months. Meanwhile, the cost of keeping a property running keeps rising. Hotels that once absorbed dips now panic at the first sign of softness. For workers, none of these explanations pay the rent. They just know that hours are disappearing, schedules are shrinking, and layoff notices keep landing. But operating costs are only squeezing from one direction. The next threat is replacing workers altogether, and it's already happening. Number 6. Automation replacing frontline roles. Walk into a Las Vegas hotel lobby today and count the humans. Chances are you'll see fewer than you remember. That's not an accident, it's a strategy. Self-check-in kiosks have spread across the Strip. Caesars rolled them out at multiple properties years ago. MGM followed. Now guests scan their ID, tap a screen, and never speak to a single employee. The front desk isn't disappearing overnight, but it's shrinking fast. And it's not just check-in. Concierge desks have been eliminated at 6 major MGM properties. Tech spots now answer questions that humans once handled. Robot bartenders pour drinks at Planet Hollywood. Digital terminals are replacing live dealers at table games. Studies estimate that between 38 and 65% of Las Vegas hospitality jobs could be automated within the next decade. That's potentially 800,000 positions vanishing by 2035. For workers, it's an existential threat. The very roles that built middle-class lives in this city, the porters, the clerks, the concierges, are being engineered out of existence. And the cuts aren't coming with warning. MGM laid off over 30 concierge employees in a single announcement. One day the desk was open. The next day it was gone. The culinary union has fought back, demanding notice before new technology gets implemented and retraining for displaced workers. But the tide feels relentless, because once a kiosk replaces a person, that job doesn't come back. And the humans left behind, they're competing for fewer positions with more desperation than ever. But automation isn't the only force hollowing out the workforce. The next problem is quieter, slower, and just as fatal. Number 5. Midweek business travel keeps declining. Las Vegas was never just a weekend destination. For decades, the city thrived on a different kind of visitor, the convention attendee, the Monday through Thursday business traveler who filled hotel rooms when leisure tourists have stayed home. That steady midweek flow kept occupancy high and staff schedules full. Now that pipeline is drying up. Midweek hotel occupancy dropped to just over 74% in September, down nearly 7% from the year before. The softness isn't random. Convention attendance cratered by almost 19% that same month. Major events that once anchored the calendar have rotated elsewhere or shrunk in scale. For hotel workers, the impact is immediate. Fewer conventions mean fewer guests needing rooms cleaned, meals served, and bags carried. Restaurants that once bustled on Tuesday nights now sit half empty. Bartenders who counted on steady weekday shifts find themselves cut before Thursday even arrives. The problem runs deeper than one slow month. Business travel nationwide has never fully recovered from the pandemic. Companies discovered they could hold meetings on Zoom instead of flying teams across the country. Trade shows that once drew tens of thousands now attract a fraction of that. And when businesses do travel, they're choosing shorter trips and smaller budgets. Las Vegas built its infrastructure assuming the convention boom would last forever. It didn't. And the hotels that staffed up for 5-day weeks of steady guests are now scrambling to adjust to a reality where midweek means empty hallways and silent elevators. But if midweek is struggling, the next problem hits even closer to where workers clock in. Number 4. restaurants and retail running reduced hours. Step inside a Las Vegas hotel and you'll notice something different. The steakhouse that used to serve dinner 7 nights a week now closed Mondays and Tuesdays. The grab-and-go cafe near the elevators, shuttered by early afternoon. The retail shop selling souvenirs, operating with a skeleton crew and shorter hours. Across the Strip, hotels are quietly scaling back their less profitable outlets. And for workers in those spaces, the cuts often come without warning. One day you're scheduled for a full shift. The next day the outlet doesn't open at all. The closures have accelerated. The buffet at Luxor shut down in March, leaving only 8 casino buffets on the entire Strip. Celebrity chef restaurants that once seemed untouchable have gone dark. Julian Serrano Tapas closed after 15 years. International Smoke at MGM Grand, backed by Aisha Curry, is gone. Emmett Smith's Steakhouse folded amid unpaid rent and tourism headwinds. For the workers who depended on those venues, there's no soft landing. When a restaurant closes, the shifts don't transfer somewhere else, they just disappear. Even outlets that remain open are trimming hours. Breakfast spots that once ran until 2 in the afternoon now close at 11. Late-night eateries that served the after-party crowd now lock up before midnight. Every reduced hour is a paycheck someone isn't getting. Hotels frame these decisions as responding to guest preferences, but workers see it differently. It feels like death by 1,000 cuts, one closed register at a time. And if individual outlets are shrinking, wait until you see what's happening at the corporate level. Number 3, corporate efficiency mandates. Behind the neon lights and celebrity chef names, Las Vegas hotels answer to shareholders, and shareholders want one thing above all else: returns. When stock prices wobble and earnings miss targets, executives reach for a familiar playbook: cut labor, optimize operations, streamline. The language is always polished. The result is always the same: fewer workers doing more with less. MGM's chief financial officer admitted it plainly on an earnings call. The company's full-time workforce was down in early 2025. He didn't point to any single cause. Instead, he said the company is always managing labor expenses. Always. That word tells you everything. This isn't a temporary adjustment. It's permanent pressure. Caesars hasn't been transparent about its cuts, but industry insiders say the company has been quietly reevaluating labor levels for months. When asked directly, corporate spokespeople declined to comment. The silence speaks volumes. The buzzwords pile up: optimizing, efficiency, streamlining, operational adjustments. Each phrase means the same thing to the worker getting called into HR: you're out. What makes corporate mandates especially brutal is their speed. These aren't gradual reductions negotiated over months. They're directives handed down from headquarters and executed within weeks. Entire departments eliminated. Shifts consolidated. Positions that existed for years suddenly deemed redundant. For publicly traded casino companies, every quarterly report brings fresh scrutiny. Miss your numbers, and Wall Street punishes you. The easiest way to protect the bottom line? Cut the people who can't fight back. But corporate efficiency isn't the only force reshaping the workforce. The next threat comes from deals made in boardrooms far from the Strip. Number 2, mergers and consolidation, eliminating duplicate positions. When 2 hotel brands merge or a private equity firm acquires a property, the press releases always celebrate synergies, new opportunities, expanded reach. What they don't mention is the bloodletting that follows. Behind closed doors, consolidation means one thing: eliminating duplicate roles. 2 marketing departments become one. 2 accounting teams get folded together. 2 sets of managers compete for half the positions. The math is brutal and predictable. Las Vegas has seen this play out repeatedly. When properties change hands, the new owners arrive with spreadsheets and layoff lists. The Venetian and Palazzo, now controlled by private equity, have trimmed staff multiple times since the acquisition. Workers describe an environment where cost-cutting is relentless, driven by investors looking to maximize value before an eventual sale. The same pattern emerges whenever a casino giant absorbs a competitor or restructures its portfolio. Roles that seemed secure vanish overnight. Longtime employees who survived every previous downturn find themselves expendable under new ownership. What makes consolidation cuts especially painful is the lack of warning. Workers often learn about mergers from news headlines, not from their managers. By the time the deal closes, decisions have already been made. Names are already on lists. The layoffs feel less like business adjustments and more like ambushes. And here's the uncomfortable truth. More consolidation is coming. The industry is under pressure. Smaller operators can't compete. Private equity smells opportunity. Every new deal means another round of redundancies. But if mergers are reshaping the workforce from above, the final blow comes from the people at the very top, the CEOs, who are now saying the quiet part out loud. Number 1, CEOs admit labor cuts are the new normal. This is the moment that should terrify every hospitality worker in Las Vegas. The executives running the biggest hotel casino companies aren't pretending anymore. They're not calling these layoffs temporary. They're not promising to rehire when business bounces back. They're saying openly and on the record that leaner staffing is here to stay. MGM's leadership told investors that digital tools now handle 80% of guest interactions that once required humans. Concierge desks are gone. Call centers are shrinking. The goal isn't to weather a slow period. The goal is to permanently reduce headcount. Industry analysts describe what's happening as a long-term shift toward greater efficiency and profitability. Translation: fewer jobs forever. The post-pandemic boom is over. The sugar high of 2023 and 2024 has faded, and the executives steering these companies have decided the path forward runs through smaller payrolls. For workers, this isn't just another rough patch to endure. This is a fundamental rewriting of what it means to work in Las Vegas hospitality. The city that once promised steady employment, union protections, and a middle-class life is becoming something colder. A machine optimized for shareholders, not for the people who make the beds, serve the drinks, and greet the guests. The numbers tell the story. 6 straight months of declining visitors, occupancy down double digits, layoffs rolling through property after property, and at the top, CEOs calmly explaining that this is simply how business will be done from now on. Las Vegas built its empire on the labor of hundreds of thousands of workers. Now those workers are being told they're no longer essential.